Hello, my name is Chris and I'm from codewithoutcode.com. Today we're going to automate a contact form and use this to actually send an email and a text message to the person that fills in your contact form with a way to be able to book a time with you. This could be used for a phone call, it could be used for a face-to-face meeting, it could be used for a number of different things. And so today what we're going to do is we're going to build that using off-the-shelf tools without any code. So to start, we're going to look at the prototype stack, which is a tool, a bit of a framework that we put together after building several of these. And what we realized is that we really needed a way to be able to easily identify the kinds of tools that will be able to help us in certain situations. So today we're going to use Typeform, Zapier, MailChimp, and Acuity scheduling, which is just at the bottom there. And so we're going to capture an incoming lead or contact in Typeform. We're going to add them to our email list. Then we're going to follow them up with an email and with a link to book time with us using Acuity scheduling. If we've got time, we'll also put in there a Twilio link, which will mean we can send a text message to someone. So these apps have been highlighted on the screen here, but if you want to see a demo of how it works, just go to this URL. Once we open up this URL, this is what we're going to get. Using Typeform, it means that we can actually skip over a lot of the headaches that would come with trying to design your own form. They'll do all the heavy lifting, they'll do all the hard work, and we just use their tools. So what we're going to build is a tool that will allow someone to fill in this form, and they can select the products that they're interested in. They can type in their mobile number and then type in a message. And at this point, I will receive an email and a text message. That text message and email is going to look something like this. So this is the kind of email that your person who filled in the form will actually get sent to them. And then the text message is going to look something like this. And this is how we'll set it up in Zapier in a moment. Alright, so to start, what we need to do is we need to go into our Zapier account. But before we start, what we want to do is we want to show you exactly how this is going to work. So Typeform is going to take the details of the questions that we ask. It's going to move it to Zapier, which will then send an email using the Zapier email tool with our Acuity scheduling link. Following that up, we're going to take the name and the phone number, and we're going to pass it using Zapier to Twilio, which will send the text message, and then we're going to use Zapier again to move the name and the email address to MailChimp. So the first step is to log into your Typeform account, now sign up if you don't already, and click on Create a New Form, and use the template. Typeform has a number of different templates available, so we don't have to put in lots of time and effort to style the form. For this specific purpose, what we're going to use is the contact form option, and once you click it, you can select it by clicking on the Use This Template button. As you can see, this is the one that's straight out of the box, and so when we click on it, it does have different styling to that example I showed you just before. But once again, the reason we're using Typeform is because it's so easy to adjust. So all you need to do to change the wording is click on the first option and edit the text on the left-hand side and then click Save. If you want to personalize this a little bit, you can actually go into what your message is about and actually type in things that are related to you. The times that I've used this is when working with consultants who want to have people come onto their website, click on the contact form, and then actually step them through a different process depending on what they select. So if they click, I'd just like a chat, then of course the email they would get and the follow-up they would get would be about making them book a time with them. However, if it was, I would love to see your slide deck, I want to see your prices or something else, then you can change that, and I'll show you how you can actually adjust it in another video, as it can be a little complex. So one thing we want to do is send a text message to someone. So because of that, we're going to need to include a phone number field. So there are different ways you can do it, but personally I just prefer to use the short text field instead, as that tends to do the job as well as using a number field. But to be honest, I don't think it makes much difference. So if you want to change the layout, change any of the images, you can select the question if the image is in the question, or if you want to change the actual colors overall, you can just go into this section here. You can select it and change it, and you'll see that this one is the palette that I checked previously when I built it for that demo, but you can change the individual colors. So from there, what you want to be able to do is to click on the configuration and make sure that your form is public, and you can name it however you want. This is a free version of Typeform, so if you pay for it, you can get a lot more functionality. One of the things that's great about Typeform, other than the fact that it is a very easy to use web builder, is that you can actually embed it in a page, or you could start it in an email. I'm not familiar with this one. Or you could actually put it into a Facebook chat. So rather than someone coming onto your website, you could actually make it so when they're on your Facebook page, when they send you a message, this is the response they get. So there's endless possibilities, and you can use this Typeform as a way to engage someone through your Facebook messaging app. So what we're going to do is just copy this field, and we're going to paste it into our browser. The reason we're pasting it into our browser is because for Zapier to work, which is our next step, we've actually got to fill it in. So I'm just going to go through and fill this in. And not my real phone number, I just like to chat, hello. And so once we've done that, we can start our next step. So our next step is to actually create a Zapier workflow or a Zap. The way to do this is first go to Zapier and actually sign up, and then click Make a Zap. Once you've done that, what you're going to have to do is set up the first step. So this is our trigger. This sets everything else off. In the case of us, what we want to set everything off is actually the Typeform account, so when someone fills it in. So what we do is we type in Typeform at the list here, and it will allow us to select a new entry. If you have never attached your Typeform account, you will have to actually go and do that. And you can actually do that by clicking on Connected Accounts, type in Typeform, and then it'll have a pop-up. Every tool will have a different way to tether it to your account, but Typeform is one of the easiest, as all you need to do is click Accounts page, and if you are logged into your Typeform account, you will get an API key. You copy and paste it into this field and hit yes and continue, and it will all be tethered. And this will allow you to continue the process of tethering. So we want it to trigger when there is a new entry. We want to select our Typeform account. And then what we want to do is select the form. I know that it's this one that I'm looking for. So we hit continue, and what it's going to do when we hit fetch and continue is go to Typeform and say, what was the details of the last form that was filled in? What are the questions that were asked? What are the attributes that we get as a response? And you can validate that by clicking on the view, and you'll actually see this is the form I just filled in. So this means now we've completed the first step. So now, as soon as someone fills in the form, they're going to trigger this workflow. And now there are endless possibilities here about what we can do. But as I mentioned, what we're going to do today is we're actually going to get it to send an email to someone. So the first thing for this next step is to actually select email. Now, there are lots of different ways to send an email inside Zapier, but for this example, I'm going to use the built-in Zapier emailing tool, just because it's a little bit easier to use and to explain. But you could use Mandrill, and you could actually use your Office 365 or Google Apps account and actually send from your email address. So that would just require you to select a different tool here. But as I mentioned, we're going to use this one. We want to send an outbound email. The first question is, who are we sending it to? Now, the obvious answer here is we want to send it to the person's email address. So what was the question that is going to give us that answer? It's this one. Subject, hi. Now, the great thing about Zapier is this part here. We could just keep it as, hi, thanks for filling in the form. but we want to personalize it, right? A part of this is really trying to personalize it. So what we can do is we can enter in any of the previous fields. So for example, we may want to put in, hi, first name, thanks for filling in the form. And the same thing will occur here. What we really want to do is actually be able to give them that link to book. And I'm just copying and pasting mine in. And because I copied and pasted this link does not work, so I've just got to manually change that. But once again, I want to personalize it. Hello, Chris. Thank you for filling in my form in regards to, and now I am selecting what the message is about. Now this is a really simplistic way of doing it, and there are other ways that you could make this a variable depending on what was selected in the message. And in a later video I'll show you how to set that up. And so now we just want to use my URL that was generated through Acuity Scheduling when I signed up to that account. And now when someone fills in the email, when they fill in the form, they're going to get sent this email, similar to that example I showed before. What we want to do is then set up the reply to address, so that way when they respond, it actually comes back to us. I should probably get my email address right. And this is it. That's it. That is all you need. At this point, when someone fills in the form, they're going to get an email that instantly will say, thank you for filling in the form, please book a time. But what happens if what we really want to do is send them a text message? So we use another off-the-shelf tool called Twilio. And once again, this is a tool that you can sign up to. And it does cost money to send these text messages, but it's a very similar application. What we do is we select our account. We have to tether our account. We need to add a number to our account first. This is why I've got these numbers available. Then we want to do the to number. So who are we sending the actual text message to? In the case of me, I'm based in Australia. So one of the tricks I've found is that you actually need to type in the country code at the start. In most cases, you'll see when I filled this in, I just wrote 07, even though that's not a real phone number in Australia. What it means is it doesn't include the country code, so I've had to type that one in. But if in your form you wrote and told people please use your international code, then this would work. And it's the same premise with what I said before. All we really need to do is just type in hi, and then we just copy and paste in our URL for booking, which I can copy from there. And that's the same thing. This question here is going to, if your cap is more than the standard text messaging, it will not send it. If you said yes, it will send multiple. So it depends on how much you get charged for it. So I'm going to skip test, but usually I would go create and continue to make sure it all works, but I know that this one won't work because that number is not valid. So now at this point, we've pretty much done everything we said we were going to do. The only part that's missing is MailChimp. So in MailChimp, we just once again need to tether our account if we haven't already. We need to add a subscriber, and then we're going to have to select an account and then a list. If you haven't got a list yet, all you need to do is click on the list and then click create a list, and you can go through the steps to do that. But what we're going to do is we're going to send it to that startup company list, and we're also going to use the person's email address as the field. So you can see that we're recycling all of these details. But to be honest, what we could really do if we wanted was to have a calculation here or something different. So we don't necessarily always need to use the number one step. We could use any that have occurred previously. So double opt-in, no. Replace groups, we're going to keep it as standard. But what we could do is if we wanted to group people based upon what it was that they selected, we could actually do that in the actual MailChimp deal. There we go. What was your message about? There we go. And so now when this ad is actually added in, it will actually add in the group instead. So that is based upon whatever it was that they selected. So in the future, you could go and look through everyone who filled in your form, or email everyone who filled in your form that used that said they'd like to chat. So there are lots of different ways to do it. And that is essentially the end of our demo today. So as you can see, we basically went through Typeform, Zapier, MailChimp. We also did Twilio. We haven't done Clipfolio or Slack, but I hope that you would be able to see how you could do that instead.